Welcome to this month's broadcast. Here are just a few highlights of what we will enjoy. Has anyone ever angrily confronted you about your beliefs?
Yeah.
You found yourself struggling to respond?
No.
You are not alone. In this dramatization, we will learn how Grayson faces this same challenge. With the right circumstances, some have enjoyed full-time service while successfully raising a family. What did they do to make that possible? The Schiller's life story will help answer that question. We will see the excitement and benefits that come from attending Pioneer School. But these students are not pioneers. They are all in Bethel service. And we will learn ways to manage our time so that we can do the more important things.
Yay!
All this and more on this edition of JW Broadcasting.
Woo, woo. Who's he? Hey, new one. New one. We got our violins out.
Many have found public witnessing to be an incredibly productive way to share the news in their territory. Often when we think of this kind of ministry, we might imagine...
He's going around. He's obviously looking at different carts to the ones we're looking at. Dearie me. But the trouble is, though, okay, if you're doing like real life cart witnessing and you speak to one person in like 2 days, it's going to be really discouraging when you see, hey, this was a wonderful experience. Let's see what they've got to say for themselves.
Being on a busy street or in some other urban area. Let's see what it's like when...
Look, doesn't that look like where Adrian and Zeb and Witness with the dinosaurs yet? Can't see any dinosaurs in the background. Now this talky guy at the front, as you get more of a close-up, if you look, he looks like John Lithgow's younger brother who can't act.
Location.
Right, where are we? Oh.
In the book of Romans, the first chapter, verse 20, it talks about how you can perceive Jehovah's creative power with what we see in creation around us. When you're in a national park and you see the beauty of these parks, you immediately think of that scripture.
We have individuals driving from an hour and a half to over 3 hours one way to share in this form of witnessing.
Oh.
National parks generally have what is called a freeness of speech
I've
area.
been to that park.
So that allows us to be able to get permission
but
to go into
in
the
the
parks,
snow.
to set up our cars there.
It's just a nice place to come and relax. And when people are relaxed, they're wanting to talk.
Now we want to bug
They
them.
already kind of have a sense of closeness with God. It kind of gets them thinking about their spirituality. And then when they see our cart displayed so nicely about that, it kind of draws them towards that.
You will find visitors from all parts of the world. Many cultures are represented.
And quite often, we will have literature in their language.
There's many that benefit from our work at the carts, but especially noteworthy are those that do not have access to Bible literature.
A Chinese couple came up and they said, "Thank you for giving me the Bible in my language." That made our day.
Well, that's pretty amazing, because I've been trying to get one in the British language, in the English language. I just grabbed the language now for a little landmass. I've been trying to get one in English. See what I did there? And impossible. Been waiting forever. And all these stories, where's the proof? They just witter on with this stuff like me. But no, I do say things that are real, unless I'm obviously being silly.
They may not stop, they may not talk to us, but they see it, and that registers in their mind that
Really?
they've seen this at an airport or in their city, and now they're going to look into it or go to the and wonder, what was
Don't say that. So now, it registers, and they're going to look into it when they get home. And guess what they'll find when they look into it when they get home? Warning. It's not going to be pretty. What they find will not be pretty.
that all about? What were those people doing there?
We
Yeah, exactly.
sit here sometimes
thinking we need
Suffering.
to pinch ourselves because it's so beautiful that we've been given the privilege
Suffering.
of doing the cart work in a location like this.
Very soon, these national parks will not just be isolated places that we have to travel to. The entire world will be that national park. And what a joy it will be when every single person alive can enjoy that beautiful painting that our Creator has made for us.
Jehovah's qualities can certainly be perceived
Look, there he
just
is.
by taking the time
John
to
Lithgow.
study creation. So we can see the power of
John
giving a
Lithgow's
witness
brother.
in a beautiful location that naturally draws attention to what Jehovah has made. Of course, permission from park authorities is often needed in advance.
Oh, I forgot to say, anyone doing a Jesus count, you got to, Denise is good at that, Denise Hedberg, you know, you need like columns, Jehovah, organisation, faithful and discreet slave, Jesus.
But this idea of buying out time to appreciate something takes us nicely into our discussion for this month.
Ooh.
I would like to talk about a valuable asset that every one of us possesses, time.
Timey-wimey thing.
It certainly is something that is on our minds as we go about our day's activities. Just think of how often you look at a clock, your watch, or your cell phone to check the time.
Timey-wimey thing.
Why do we do that?
Because it goes so slowly in the kingdom hall? I don't know.
See if we are ahead of time, on time, behind time, or out of time.
Timey-wimey.
But what exactly is time?
Oh.
One dictionary says it is a non-spatial continuum.
Not the dictionary definition.
Another says it is the thing that is measured as seconds, minutes, hours, days, and years.
Would be wonderful if we now talked to the quantum physics and time. Or get Doctor Who on and talk about timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey. Stuff.
To explain exactly what time is in simple terms is nearly impossible.
It is. I agree.
And the Bible does not define it, which may suggest that Jehovah knows is beyond our ability to understand. But the Bible does discuss time. It shows that Jehovah is very time-conscious. It speaks of time as something that we should use wisely, and it gives us the amazing hope of living into infinity, that is, endless time.
Well, I think it's the classic thing, isn't it? You don't really live forever. As a Jehovah's Witness, it just feels like you are.
Every human has exactly the same number of hours and minutes in each day. Rich people cannot buy more hours, and scientists cannot invent new minutes.
What? Rich people can buy more hours? That same thing happened with Stephen Letts said a thing. Was it about March, last year's broadcast? Rich people can't buy more time. Of course they can. What did Rothschild? Was it Rothschild, the elderly one? What is he on his 8th or 9th heart? Like he wasn't on like your normal donation waiting list, was he, for that? I think it's bought him a lot of time. How silly. You're just being a silly boy now.
Never recoup the time we have wasted, neither can we save it to spend on another day.
Well, I won't recoup the time I've lost watching this, and you won't recoup the time you spent watching me watching this.
A non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint.
Just think. We have exactly the same number of hours to use each day that Jesus Christ had when he was on the earth.
To mention Jesus. Hang on, pass out.
That no human used his time more wisely.
Well, he didn't have long because he's only here a little while. Okay.
It has been said that time is the most valuable thing a human can spend. And so it is up to us how we will use the time that is at our disposal. In this regard, there is a Bible principle that gives us good direction. A principle that was shared with us by the Apostle Paul at Philippians 1, 9 and 10.
Whoa, you opened up without looking. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
And this is what I continue praying.
Okay.
And in verse 10, that you may make sure of the more important things.
Okay.
Therefore, the theme of this month's program is make time for the more important things.
Like my dinner.
This presents us with a twofold challenge. First, we have to determine what are the more important things in life.
My dinner.
In the scripture we just read, some Bible translations say, have a sense of what is vital.
Vital. My dinner.
So we must distinguish between activities that are merely trivial and those that really matter.
My dinner.
In addition to the obligation to work to support one's family, to care for necessary household chores, to look after one's children or aging parents, we have many important things of a spiritual nature that deserve our full attention.
Spiritual dinner.
Reading and meditating on God's Word.
I could make days last forever if words could make wishes come true.
Caring for any responsibilities.
I'd save every day like a treasure, and then again
After I've had my dinner.
I would spend them with
I
you.
want some time to rest, to exercise,
And have dinner.
to work in the garden, to enjoy some recreation,
And have dinner.
or to visit with family and friends.
I'm bored now with dinner. I'm full up.
Have you ever felt that you did not have enough time to do all those things?
I've eaten too much now.
That you have difficulty fitting all the spiritual activities into your busy life? As much as we might like to, we cannot add an extra hour to our day.
Yes, we can.
Or another day to our week to accomplish more things.
Well, sort
So,
of we can.
we have
But you
to be
can get
selective.
more accomplished, like, because if you've got a bit more money, right, you can hire in someone to do jobs for you, so they can come and do like household chores and cook your dinner and do the garden. So you can actually.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
About how we spend the time that we have.
Okay.
We will get the most accomplished if we prioritize the things that really matter. And what does that mean? To prioritize
I can't
means
imagine.
to decide which tasks are more important
No.
and to do them first.
Well, thank you for explaining what prioritising was, because I'd never have known, would you? I know J-dubs aren't supposed to go to college things and that, but we do know a little bit about things. Dearie me.
Decide what must be given attention prior to other things.
Dear.
There is a Bible proverb that nicely illustrates
Wake
the
me up when
importance
it's
of
interesting.
prioritizing life's activities. Proverbs 12:11.
I'm prioritising sleep now.
The one who cultivates his land will be satisfied with food.
Food!
The one
Food!
pursuing worthless things
Someone say food.
is lacking good sense. What a clear warning that is for a farmer, not to fill up his day with worthless endeavors and waste the precious time that he should be spending working in his field. Likewise, a Christian who diligently cultivates his spirituality can be confident of Jehovah's blessing. Whereas a person who is distracted by worthless activities puts his relationship with God in danger. How can we avoid that? By not taking valuable time away from spiritual pursuits to spend on the things that distract us from serving Jehovah whole soul. For example, when it comes to communicating with others, what should take priority?
Food.
Starting our day by giving Jehovah
Invite them
praise
to
and
dinner.
thanks and prayer for another day of life.
They could invite me to
Or
dinner.
telephoning an old friend to catch up on the latest news in his or her life.
Well, that'd be good.
There's nothing wrong with talking to a friend.
Oh, thank you very much.
But we need to make sure we take the time to talk to our very best friend, Jehovah. Obviously, it is more important.
Well, I'd like to talk to him because I beg him not to throw me out and shun me. So I do make sure, and I also beg my best friend not to kill me at Armageddon. It's funny that I don't have to ask any of my other friends not to kill me at Armageddon. Just my best friend. Funny that, isn't it? I don't quite understand. Obviously, my other friends haven't got the hang of how friendship works, really.
With our Heavenly Father. So, praying to Him should be a priority.
Well, if you don't want to die, yeah.
The Apostle Paul had more to say about
he's off with his book again.
At Ephesians 5:15 through 17.
Now, what's he got?
He wrote, "So keep strict watch that how you walk is not as unwise but as wise persons, making the best use of your time, because the days are wicked. On this account, stop being unreasonable, but keep perceiving what the will of Jehovah is.
Well, he didn't say Jehovah, though.
Now we can address the second
Did
part
he?
of our challenge, to make ample time to care.
Wow,
for
thank
the
you
more
for
important things of
explaining,
life.
because I'd never have known.
What is Paul's counsel to make the best use of your
His
time?
tie is
actually
annoying
mean?
me on that glass
Literally, in Greek, it
desk.
means to buy out the appointed time.
The reflection is annoying
That
me.
implies buying time at the expense of something else. So it helps to analyze
Look,
how
see
our
the
time
tie?
is
Oh, that's
actually
annoying.
being spent, and
Optical
to see what
illusion.
adjustments are needed so that we can buy out or make
I'm
time
spending too much
for
time
the
looking at
more
his
important
tie.
things. If we perceive what the will of Jehovah is, then we certainly will want to use as much time as possible to forge an ever stronger relationship with Him and to share fully in sacred service. Do you have definite periods set aside for the spiritual activities of life? For congregation meetings, the schedule is set for us. We know exactly when our congregation meets for its midweek and weekend meetings.
Provided we know which
Sure
hall is still standing.
Get in the way of our
It hasn't been
attention,
sold off.
because the meetings are a priority. Hebrews 10:25 says not to forsake them. For everything else,
Does it say
reading the Bible,
don't forsake going down the
preparing for
Kingdom
meetings,
Hall?
family
I'm confused.
Right, said Fred, both of us together, one each end and steady as we go. Tried to shift it, couldn't even lift it. We was getting nowhere, and so we had a cup of tea. And right, said Fred, give a shout to Charlie. Up comes Charlie from the floor below.
I wonder how, if that's part of their routine.
After straining, even and complaining, we was getting nowhere, and so we had a cup of tea. And Charlie had a think, and he thought we ought to take off all the handles and the things what held the candles. But it did no good. Well, I never thought it would.
Oh, sure, it's the end of the broadcast. Please, please.
Many families have the routine of going to field service every Saturday. Rarely is anything allowed to get in the way of that routine. For them, Saturday morning is not the time for music lessons, dance practice, cooking courses, working out at the gym, or anything else. It is their time for field service.
Dance classes.
Having a routine like that makes life easier for everyone in the family. No one has to wonder.
Dance classes. I gave up tap dancing because I kept falling in the sink.
What is going to happen Saturday morning?
Someone knocking at the door. Somebody ringing the bell.
Those lucky children.
Otherwise, if
So
we leave it up
happy.
to chance every week, then it means that 52 times during the year, we have to decide whether to go in service on Saturday. How much simpler it is to make the decision once
To not think.
and for all.
So don't make
we will use
decisions.
that time slot for
No,
ministry.
that's quite a little clever control there, wasn't it? You see, I was paying attention while snoozing. So yeah, you don't have to make decisions. You make that one decision, and the rest you just do it. You just follow it. Sounds a bit familiar, doesn't it? They really like the congregations to be like that.
Unforeseen circumstances. Of course, given your family's situation, another day of the week may work better. But you get the point.
No.
Sharing regularly in the Christian ministry cannot be left up to chance.
Why?
At Mark 13:10, Jesus prioritized the ministry.
Did he?
When he said the good news has to be preached first. So, if spiritual matters
No. But then you're not preaching in certain countries. You've already said no, we're not preaching there. No, we're not preaching there. No, we're not preaching there. Because it's too dangerous, you said. So it can't be preached first. Oh, you just confuse me all the time.
in our lives.
I'm tired.
We first have to make them priorities.
I'm tired.
And second, make ample time to care for those priorities. That means setting aside definite periods
Cut
of
to a
time
video,
to
man.
build up our spirituality.
Let's have a lovely
To stay
song.
fully involved in our worship and service.
That's lovely. Oh, he's off again.
Ecclesiastes 3, verse 1.
Look, he never has to look. It's all
reinforces this
sussed.
thought.
I'm
It
impressed.
states, there is an appointed time for everything, a time for every activity under the heaven.
Including sleeping.
When that appointed time is for each of our spiritual activities.
Yeah.
If we are having difficulty with this, can we shorten the time we spend on hobbies, recreation, sports, social networking?
See, have less time
that time to our
as a
Bible
human
reading,
being.
Family worship, meeting preparation, or field ministry.
More pressure, more pressure, more pressure, more pressure. Keep up, keep up, keep up. More pressure, more pressure, more pressure. Wow, keep those blinkers on, keep those blinkers on. Serve us, serve us. Serve the slave, be the slave to the slave. Slave to the rhythm.
This was the experience of a family man that I know. He began preparing better so as to participate each week in the Digging for Spiritual Gems portion of the midweek meeting. He made time on Sunday evenings for this. All in his family and congregation have benefited from the excellent points he has learned as he does research on the assigned Bible reading.
It's funny if he said that, because I know people who are in the VAA, the Vast Apostate Army, they would never do anything unless they had, you know, someone like this guy to tell them to do it. So it's very important.
That they decided they could do without. Likely,
there are other religions like this. Are they Latter-day Saints, perhaps? Are they like this? Like, don't do anything else but our things, do our stuff. And why? Because otherwise you're going to die at Armageddon. Because you're going to be killed by your best friend. None of it makes sense.
Inventory of our lives. And limiting any unnecessary activities that may be interfering with our spiritual routine.
What?
Imagine how rewarding that would be. Just think, if we could buy out 30 minutes each day from doing something that is not essential, that is about how much time it would take to read.
I think we should kind of multitask. So, like, if you're going to the loo, okay, surely there's lots of things one could do while you're going to the loo to multitask. Can you think of any? I mean, like if you're a woman, because you don't need to be using your hands, you could sort of like be combing your hair. And then that would buy you some time, wouldn't it? If you add that up over a year, that's going to be a lot. Or I tell you what, a good way of releasing time would be is if you didn't have about 4 or even 8, we've seen sometimes people on a cart or on a couple of carts, all doubling up, quadrupling up, octobling act, octopling act, I don't know what you'd call it, up. Well, then that could buy loads of preaching time, couldn't it? Because there could be 8 times as much preaching if people were sort of distributed out in different areas. So I think that would be a very, very good way. It's okay, Watchtower, you can have that idea for nothing. Don't thank me. Don't thank me.
Bible in 1 year. Or if we could buy out an extra hour or 2 each week for the field ministry. Think of how much more we could accomplish.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's really worth, isn't it? Sacrificing all that time and rearranging so that 8 of you can stand in a clump, not speaking to anyone for hours, like they do on Stacey's campus. Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. Very, very, and I like the sort of purpose, what the achievements will be at the end.
That would make God and Christ, as they see us making time for the more important thing. Now, why have we felt the need to spend this time discussing how to manage?
That's wasted a load of time.
Because of something else.
No, it's too late now, but I would say to save time by not watching this, but that's too late. So that's going to be a bit mad. In the meantime, anyway, I hear that Watchtower are inventing a time machine. So that can save everyone even more time. But they'd like to go back and undo those end of the world prophecies, eh? Whoa, bet they'd like that.
1 Corinthians 7:29 says, that the time left is reduced. That certainly is true of the time that is left between now and the Great Tribulation.
Oh, stop
This
it.
is not the time to neglect.
We heard that in the 80s, didn't we? All you oldies like me heard that in the 80s. People older than me heard it in the 60s. Even if the little kid is in the 60s. People heard it in between the wars, the First and Second World Wars. People heard it before the First World War. Others heard it even in the 19th century. The time's so short.
The most important activity of all, our worship of Jehovah.
Don't worry about
What
Jesus.
matters most in life
Don't worry
is
about
something
Jesus.
we all need to do, even our young ones.
Just forget. Oh,
And
young
that's
ones.
the focus of this
Young
month's
ones.
music video about the important thing.
Oh, dearie me. Hang on. Oh, dear. I'll save that treat for later.
Slave to the river.